a lone analyst forged her armor from discarded exports and misaligned fields. She became the Data Knight. Today we name another Forge character and peek behind the curtain. Let's see how innovation meets artistry as we forge something extraordinary together.
You are listening to the Innovation Forge, the #1 podcast on adaptive enrollment management, exploring the data, marketing, and strategy that fuels higher education. Here's your host, David Dysart.
Welcome to a Coffee and Coals episode, our time to peek behind the curtain and learn a little bit more about the Innovation Forge. So, grab a coffee, get comfortable, and don't forget to stoke those coals. Today, we talk about our next Enrollment Ace. We'll get the name, we'll get the origin story, but first I want to talk a little bit more about the creative process. And today we're going to discuss the Admissions Arcana before we get to our Data Knight. The Admissions Arcana is a ForgeWorks Grimoire game that I actually made. And for those of you who don't know, the ForgeWorks Grimoire is a training series that I've been doing. I've got the next two basically lined up. I just need to actually record them. But when I was doing the original step-by-step trainings, which I was releasing on the podcast after I did my last late summit on feature engineering, I just decided I'm just going to record videos of me actually building these things live so people can follow along, see the logic, I can explain them. But honestly, I felt like they were kind of boring because there's literally just me in a clean slate, just kind of literally just building these things. It wasn't that engaging. I'm thinking about what I'm doing, so I'm kind of talking through it, but it just didn't resonate as much as I had hoped the training would be. And I didn't get any negative feedback on them or anything. But I wanted to do something more in line with the Innovation Forge, which if you've been listening and watching the Innovation Forge, is always very narrative. There's always a journey. There's always some kind of element of creativity in every type of content I put out, whether that's the OR reports, or the Forge Bellows, or the Enrollment. There's just always something that I'm trying to add into it. I think it just makes it more fun for me to create, being in that playground. And hopefully it makes it more fun for people who are ingesting. It's that infotainment element of, okay, I'm learning something, but I'm also just enjoying the content that I'm consuming. And I decided to do the ForgeWorks Grimoire, which is again, still in line with the Innovation Forge aesthetic and motif, because I kind of jumped from that blacksmithing to medieval, and medieval to tarot element. So the ForgeWorks Grimoire is a series of hands-on training. So about half of the hour-long training is actually building in Slate or Excel or whatever we're doing. It starts off with a tarot draw and kind of setting the scene, and then the final segments are again kind of in that world of just the tarot and the mystique and all that, the mythical elements of it. And then for each training, I also write an accompanying chapter of a book that is very much so narrative driven. It still gets you some that content, but it's a little bit even. It's a step further even than the ForgeWorks Grimoire trainings, and another step into that narrative piece. And I had designed the tarot draws, so I have the Arcana, the major pieces, which allow me to do drawing of different elements. So I decided to draw the season, which would be maybe it's the strategy season, the recruitment season, the application season, the yield season. And then that then gets paired with an actual topic. So maybe the topic is building something, or maybe the topic is a larger internal set. So it's building something, understanding something, planning something, communicating something, timing, behaviors, finances, decisions. All these different pieces are the different topics. And then I also have the Practitioner, which are my 12 Codex practitioners. This is the Etherbound, the Datamancer, the Attritiononomist, the Ledgerborn, the Slate Write, all of those different approaches to the problem. And then lastly, I have my student personas, which allow us to kind of finally zero in on the actual topic or the problem that we're doing. And this is like Ghosted Greg, Out of State Oliver, Campus Cruiser Carla, Procrastina Paige, Steady Eddie, Yield Fence Yasmin. So I have a very large tarot deck that I can draw into. I think it's the Smith spread is the like mat and the layout that I designed to go with it. And I essentially do like a tarot draw at the beginning of every ForgeWorks Grimoire training that sets the stage of like, okay, this is the season that we're working in. This is the topic. This is how we're going to approach it. This is who we're solving it for. As a natural way to build the mythos of like what the training was that we're going to cover that day. And well, I was just thinking like, well, we could kind of just co-opt this and make a game out of it, because I use this as a kind of a cheeky introduction to my training. But we could standardize what exactly does drawing a strategy season card, what does drawing a build topic card, what does drawing a metallurgist practitioner card, what does drawing a funnel Fiona student card, what are the elements that go into each of those cards and each of the 4 domains of season, topic, practitioner, and student. So as long as we standardize those, this becomes almost like a party game. It's an enrollment management apples to apples, or in admissions, Cards Against Humanity, whatever. It's that kind of like loose framework party game, not super structured, but there is a definitive direction to go in. And then, so if we have multiple people playing the game, then we can have like a rotating judge, like those games do, to kind of like rate or grade each person's take on it, or each team's take on it, or each division's team on it. And so that kind of gave me that springboard to, okay, let me just codify these a little bit more, because I have an Excel document or a Google Sheet that I had basically already gone through all those cards to frame the mythos of what each card means to build my ForgeWorks Grimoire trainings. Because I already have all the basically those tarot draws already scripted. So I just needed to polish them up a little bit more, systematize them a little bit more, and make the a little bit more tighter focus to essentially you draw these things, and then everyone at the table or each team has the same prompt, and then they can take that in any direction that they want. Maybe they interpret it a little bit differently, and that could be just natural interpretation differences, or they could be trying to do a creative take on something to differentiate themselves from the other competitors. And that opens up a lot of really fun elements to, you're not just going to get the same canned answer, because everyone's thought process is a little bit different, everyone's interpretation is a little bit different, and everyone's kind of goal to solve this problem is a little bit different. So you're not just going to get 4 boring answers. You might get 4 boring answers, but there's not going to be the same 4 boring answers. So I went through, and for each of those cards, like I said, I had the starting off point already for their ForgeWorks Grimoire. And I decided another Google spreadsheet would be the easiest way to lay out all the cards, all the rules and everything. And I'm like, well, if I want to do this much work in a Google Sheet, I could probably make this playable. During the pandemic, I had made basically knockoff Clue in a Google Sheet so we could still do board games remotely. I'd only played that a couple times, but that was fun to build, but it was also fun to play. And fun, I've also built Excel document Jeopardy for a theater. We did like a theater, I think it was it a charity event or something like that? So I just love tinkering with like Excel and Google Sheet and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, okay, so I will just build and mock up this game in a Google Sheet. And it also serves as just like a proof of concept, a playable game I can put out into the community, and just a nice central point to have everything. And I'll include a link to the playable Google Sheet here in this episode. But yeah, so I have listed each of the cards, so what type they are, whether it's like season or topic, the card title, the description, which again kind of gets you more to the narrative that I was creating with the ForgeWorks Grimoire trainings. And then it gives actually the round guide as well. So for like the season of strategy, it's the season of aims and alignment. Look to define the objective, metrics, and actions that will be used to impact the strategy. Whereas like the yield season card, it's the season of retention and commitment. Focus your efforts on melt prevention, reinforcement of belonging, and strategic follow-up. So again, we're getting these broad frameworks, and then we're going to continue narrowing down our direction with each different type of card. It's very much a funnel or a pyramid, getting you to a final direction for the players. Something like a topic. So the build topic card is make the thing. Describe the artifact, outline the steps, and name the handoff to production. Whereas the topic of timing, it's the right movement, the right pace, set a schedule, add a nudge, and avoid fatigue with clear spacing. So we have our project, but we're approaching different aspects of the project, or we're approaching different skill sets. And then for our practitioner, we have the ether bound. So we have trace how data flows subtly in your system or moves the student untracked, improve data tracking, take action, and measure the results, versus the querysmith. Build the process that reveals truth. Draft the query and export, state the filters, and show the field list that drives the decision. So again, the actual specific ask or the final product that we're getting to, and this could be, again, we're just at a table, or this could be a more formal training that we're having. It's just a gamified training that we're having, and team building and all of those pieces. And then we have our student. So again, if we're looking at out-of-state Oliver, it's distance is the question. Offer travel help, virtual connection, and proof that the journey is actually worth it. Or like clickbait Curtis. So he has a high attention with low action. So shorten the path, improve CTAs, and just really confirm with a quick win. So these are different strategies on how to implement the project with certain student populations. And then like we have Aid Anxious Anna. So the worry is about cost. So clarify price, simplify aid steps, and offer a human contact. So honestly, like even if you just have a new admissions counselor, just going through these different guide cards, I think is a great way for someone to orientate themselves in the world of admissions. Now the Google sheet also has some columns that just makes the document itself work. Like I have all these images uploaded to my Google Drive, so it actually pulls the image of the card. It also gives you an option to download the card. So again, if you wanted to download all the cards, print it, and play it, awesome, fantastic, do that. Or if you just want to see them outside of the Google sheet, you can. And then we have our we have a quick reference guide to just like, I want to get playing right now in 5 minutes. It kind of just really just explains what it is, how the mechanics of the game work. Now, if you want to actually play, we have the longer manual, and you can have some gameplay variants as well. So like a solo draw. Reflect on your own projects. Use the forward card spread as a creative prompt for what to build next. You can have a forge off. Each team gets a different draw. A judge picks the most inventive and actionable interpretation. Could even have thematic challenges. So restrict draws to one season. Maybe it's yield season only to really focus a workshop setting. We have the Forge Ledger tab, which allows you to track the points and also document the draws that you're having. So if you want to, like, we do this once a month, then you can document this and whatever everyone said, who won, good ideas to actually implement in the office after you finish playing the game. And then you actually have playing the game tab. And this gives you, it has like the deck, it has each of the cards. And if you actually click on the deck, it will deal a new set of cards. To get this to work nicely, beautifully, reliably, it does require some JavaScript. You have to like accept to allow it to use JavaScript or CSS, something like that. I don't remember what it was at this point. This was a while ago. And that, again, that just has a really simple, like, okay, click the blue ForgeWorks Grimoire card to draw 4 cards to shape the challenge. And then it just also has some contact me kind of stuff. Also has a link to my book. If you're enjoying the game, it's a great way to support me as the creator of the game. And just find out more about my trainings, my podcast, stuff like that. And this was just so much fun. And this was a much lower lift. I have a couple other enrollment management games that have been tinkering around in the back of my head, and a vibe coding video game that I'm probably also never going to do because, I feel like vibe coding is definitely a very deep hole that I can fall into. If anyone knows how obsessive my behavior gets a little bit. But this was just a really fun game. I already had so much of the collateral and the material built, and I was able to actually get the lift of this pretty, I'm not going to say quickly, it probably still took entirely too long. But it also just, it works on my background of enrollment management. I've also have designed games. Some of them have been parody games. Some of these have been like standalone games with my old roommate, who also does stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun building an enrollment management. Again, I mean, I think my book is the first Slate book that's ever been published, and I don't think there's a ton of enrollment management, admissions, card games, party games, board games that have been necessarily done. I would love it if people were able to use this and again just learn and grow from it. Of course, if I could ever actually print this and like sell like a printed model, like I would love to just, I mean, I have all the cards printed, because those ForgeWorks Grimoire trainings, I was originally planning on setting up a video camera to record me doing the draws, and that just didn't work super well. So I just cycle through slides on my OBS streaming software. Because I also usually do the ForgeWorks Grimoire trainings. I do those live. I probably should rehearse those. I don't usually. I do a bit of crafting on like the different segment topics of what I'm going to say, of course, at least general bullet points. The training itself, I just figure I'll go until I hit about a half an hour of a live training. And trying to ballpark mentally at least what that will include and entail. But yeah, no, this was such a fun project. So it's the Admissions Arcana. Check the links, whether you're watching this on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, what else? Substack, just the different podcatchers. I'll have a link to the Google sheet. And like I said, I think the biggest hurdle is just accepting that it's just going to use some JavaScript to actually deal the cards. If you don't want to do that, send me an email. I'm happy to send you an Excel document or a Google sheet, I guess, that doesn't use it. It was just an easier way to just one button click to deal the cards. But yeah, so I thought it was a ton of fun to build. I've actually had fun just kind of playing it to brainstorm and think and generate ideas. But yeah, I think it's also a great training piece. It's a great idea generation piece, and just a lot of fun in my mind, at least. But I do like games. So yeah, that's the Admissions Arcana. If you are interested in kind of the fun tarot take and the mysticism of the game or the ForgeWorks Grimoire, I'm also posting on LinkedIn every week because I am building a quorum score Slate presentation for Slate Summit. I've been doing that just every week, posting an update, whether that's picking a name, writing the presentation proposal, building the PowerPoint. I don't know if I will be selected to present at Slate Summit this year. But I thought it'd be fun for folks to just come along that journey. Like, what is it like to build a proposal, then build the session, and then rehearse it, and then actually be on stage at Summit? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of fun. But I think I love that Slate and like Christopher is bringing more conversations through like the community hours, community conversations, office hours. And I love that this is more of a topic that's being talked about in the community, is doing these presentations and proposals. And I will say, presenting at Slate Summit, very different than presenting at something like AACRO-SIM. A lot more hand-holding at Summit. So I think that there is a lot of elements of going to conferences, presenting at conferences, doing proposals for sessions that I know at first, I mean, it still is, a very intimidating process, especially for those of us with some imposter syndrome, kind of dragging at our ankles there. But I think folks being able to come along with the journey, the failures, the successes, the struggles, the thought processes, I think is really helpful. I would have loved to kind of be able to be that fly on the wall for someone else doing this while I was kind of building up the nerve to submit proposals, and then submit entirely too many proposals, probably, if you ask anyone from Technolutions. But the session that I'm putting together is also very Admissions Arcana. I'm going through quorum scoring, which is like an Eric Hofpower concept of quorum thresholding. But I'm taking this, again, I had the tarot cards and everything already, so I wanted to do a fun theme with the session. So the stuff that I'm putting together for that session is very much so in this theme of the tarot cards and that aesthetic. So definitely follow me on LinkedIn to kind of get more of your dose of tarot. And that's the Admissions Arcana, and my kind of diving into the tarot world as an aesthetic primarily for season 3. I don't know if I'll do a different aesthetic for season 4. For folks who have been following me on the podcast, season 2 was very much so codex practitioners and kind of that codex medieval sketchy. Like when I had interview guests, I did the sketches for everyone on the parchment. Season 1, I did the trading cards, which again was more in line with what I was doing with the Enrollment Aces, which is a trading card game, which I have not built. But again, would love to do like a deck building Enrollment Aces game at some point. But too many projects. Already entirely too many projects. With that said, though, I think it's time for us to check in on the data night. Now, in the early days of the chaotic data seas, when duplicate records ran rampant and the funnel fog swallowed every prospect list, a lone analyst forged her armor from discarded exports and misaligned fields. She became the data knight. Her shield was hammered from the toughest configurable joins, polished until it reflected every engagement signal with perfect clarity, and her sword was tempered in the fires of liquid markup, sharp enough to cut through the densest of untagged records. Where others feared the maelstrom of melt or the siege of stale queries, the data knight rode forth. She defended institutional strategy from the creeping shadows of bad data and wielded predictive modeling like a trusted steed. At every Slate Summit, she rides again, guarding the fortress of clean CRM practices and training novices in the art of data chivalry. She's known for slaying duplicate records before they breach the portal gates, guarding the integrity of engagement scoring and predictive models, wielding configurable joins to stitch together fractured datasets, training new slate writes to wield liquid markup with precision, and holding the melt maelstrom at bay with a single clean export. And of course, you'll know her by her motto, that I shield the yield from the chaos of bad data. I, of course, am talking about Queryssa, Joinsalot, the Metricsbane, our data knight. Thank you so much for joining me today as we take a peek behind the curtains here in the Coffee and Coals, taking a look at the Admissions Arcana and finding out more about our data knight, Queryssa, Joinsalot, the Metricsbane. Remember to come back next week, and let's forge something extraordinary together. If you enjoyed today's episode, please grow the guild by rating and reviewing the Innovation Forge podcast, or sharing it with a colleague who needs to hear about these creative crossovers in education. The best review or comment every month will get an ebook of my book, of course. Particularly great ones will also be featured on future episodes. Thank you so much for joining me in the workshop today. Remember to strike true, and let's forge something extraordinary together. Welcome to the Innovation Forge. After After Blackboard, I told myself I would take a break. I couldn't keep investigating systems. There are only systems. But then I saw a file, a .ics calendar export. Only I never enrolled in the course. The title read, Orientation, Day 1, The Eternal Stack. I opened Canvas in a private browser. No login prompt, just access. A dashboard unfolded on its own. The UI was fluid, intuitive, beautiful. Too beautiful. I should have known better. The pages began to stretch. Not load, stretch. I clicked modules, and they cascaded endlessly, each one subtly different. The same lesson on academic integrity appeared over and over, but the examples began to reference me. My search history, my prior log entries, a progress bar appeared. I hadn't started anything. It said 94% complete, though. Beneath, grading in progress by observer. Well, I tried to leave. A notification badge followed my cursor. It pulsed, grew. The LMS was aware. That's when I saw her, the binding. Not a creature, a surface, a veil covering everything. Her form shimmered like LEDs through cellophane, while symbols danced across her skin, rubrics that updated as I looked at them. Her limbs were tabs, her breath automated reminders, her eyes, each one a late submission appeal, time-stamped and unresolved. When she moved, the syllabi bent. Deadlines shifted forward, then back. I tried to close the window. The window, it closed me. Canvas, the binding of infinite pages. You are now enrolled. You cannot unenroll.